My name is Caphras, the son who abandoned Mother Sylvia. I hereby leave my trails for the descendants to follow.
In our previous topic, we encountered Hadum Vuhura Kaheliak, the current conqueror of the Elvian realm. For context to fill the gaps for this video, I highly advise you to really watch the previous episode called Hadum, the ultimate villain of Black Desert, as it will touch upon the God of Darkness in severe detail. The way I'm constructing these lore videos is with the purpose to bring forth a homogeneous piece which later down the line you will be able to simply listen to while doing whatever and not break continuity. Before we start this video, I would like to express my utmost gratitude to all who saw my recent lore projects. We achieved the milestone of 7,000 subscribers and I cannot wait to see what the future has in store for us. And thus, I would like to play also a game with you as a celebration and ask you 2 questions, which context you'll learn in a bit, and afterwards show you something very important for me. The first question being, how far is too far before one can go back? And the second one being, is forgiveness a thing to be bestowed to anyone, no matter the deeds? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I must be honest with you and say that I am nervous. Nervous to tell you this story because us even talking about Elvia, well, it will eventually push us quite fast into the most gruesome tale arguably in Black Desert, and that is the tale of Caphras Luthragon. Many, if not even most of the players, do not grasp the idea that we live in an extremely dark and grim world, a world where a good deed is a term near forgotten. Caphras was born within Elvia a long time ago. He is a Luthragon in the same way as the playable class Archer is, or in other words, a male elf. The Luthragons are direct descendants of the elven goddess Sylvia, who at the time of their arrival was the supreme deity of the realm, beloved and cherished by all. Plenty of important events have occurred prior to Caphras' birth within Elvian realm, but these gaps will be filled in another video coming in soon. Born in Aduir in what's considered the last age of Elvia, the earliest days of Caphras' life were instantaneously engulfed in battle as Hadum's darkness already manifested itself within the realm of Elvia. Every single day, hundreds of Luthragon soldiers fell. They were fighting a battle which seemed impossible to win. No matter the effort, they were not capable of holding back. It was at this moment where we first see Caphras' desire to take matters in his own hands, the desire to finish this war, so he sought allies. Here it's important to speak of elven pride. It's a recurring thing within many fantasy tales of the feeling of superiority, the feeling of grandeur, and the reluctance of asking for aid when needed. The arrogance of the elf is nothing new. Caphras, however, seemed to understand the situation, and there was no time for pride, there was no time for arrogance, for doom was at the doorstep and it cared for naught. He sought after the Denive, the men of Elvia who were acclaimed and wielding powerful and destructive magic. These people had records of interests which, after some convincing and sharing exchange of knowledge, Caphras managed to acquire and study. It was then and there he found a spark, a possibility of Hadum's destruction. The being which the Denive were worshipping, that is the Godder-eyed, a god of paramount light and flame, capable of destruction beyond measure. The path ahead was clear. Diving into the missives of knowledge, researching the means to summon such a being into Elvia, and a plan for a ritual was conducted. But all stories have twists, for Hadum was no fool and he was well aware of this. An ambush transpired from Hadum's forces upon Caphras and the Denive, causing a commotion and the belief that there was a traitor in their midst. There was no way of seeing reason. A Luthragon coming through, exchanging knowledge with the Denive, learning their most sacred missives, only for an ambush to occur after time. Caphras had no choice but to flee. Not just that, but he disguised himself as a human, as the preparations for the summoning were far from done, and he desperately needed the help of the humans. So another infiltration was indeed needed. Finally, after time, the ritual was fully ready, so they proceed. Upon the altar where the summoning were to be conducted, right at this time, Caphras heard a voice he's never heard before, and as the ritual progressed, it uttered to him,
"My son, stay your hand."
He could not move, he could not speak, the echo of these words bouncing inside his head relentlessly. So much was said afterwards that Caphras could not bear it. The voice spoke of truth. Hadum told Caphras of the destructive capacity of the god-eyed being, how it would incinerate all and everything, and Caphras, evidently so, was in shock. The overwhelming sensation of sorrow, the feeling of misjudgment, he could not believe that his goddess Sylvia would allow such a thing to transpire from his behalf, and felt misguided. The overwhelming sensation of sorrow, the feeling of misjudgment. He could not believe that the goddess Sylvia would allow such a thing to transpire from his behalf, and he felt misguided, he felt betrayed, and he felt truly forsaken. All of his effort almost brought forth the sheer destruction of Elvia. But now an impossible choice stood before him, for he had an encounter with the god of darkness himself, and the offer was evident. Serve the darkness eternally to save your people, or die out. This, my dear viewers, was not such a dark twist compared to what I'll share with you now, for the treachery of Hadum knows no bounds. The reality of the situation was extremely different. Hadum did not feel any fear of what was to come at all, should Caphras even manage to succeed with this ritual, because the ritual, well, in reality it could never succeed. The god-eyed being, it was long gone. The feelings of Caphras about his goddess Sylvia leaving him to stray, while they were genuine, played against his judgment once more, because Sylvia was long gone as well. Caphras could not have been aware of this, while Hadum himself personally oversaw these events take place. What happened that night was, well, Hadum saw a servant willing to go through extreme lengths to save his people, do the darkest biddings, and he found himself a left-hand man. He cursed Caphras with immortality to be his servant, his harbinger, his agent forevermore, and kept the Luthragon's survival as the carrot on a stick, which always drove the horse forwards. What if I told you that the Caphras encounters in Elvia, while traumatic in the aftermath, were far from his future worries? In fact, these memories would very soon be like a daisy in a spring garden in comparison to what was ahead. Immortal, alone in a world, with a mission to usher in the coming of his master, Hadum Buhura Kaheliak. It wasn't long until Caphras was shunned by his sister elves in Grana, creating such a commotion which shook the elves to their core. But a surprise to him was that he was not captive, but rather was banished to the west. He managed to join a friendly merchant's wagon and was on a long journey all the way to Valencia for trade goods. The voice still echoed in his mind, or rather, the memory of it. He was devoted to the idea of not disappointing his new god for his people. Caphras would travel all the way to Valencia, making a name for himself with the different cultures, exchanging local knowledge with powers for what he, as a Luthragon from Elvia, was capable of teaching back as arcane. He would study these records, use the observatories, soaking knowledge with a reignited passion, all thought hell-bent with the purpose of servitude towards his dark god. It would not take such a long time for his fame to become widespread and raise eyebrows, especially within the ruling elite of the Valencian kingdom, as he amassed power and fame, capable of challenging authority. The Cadre followers were heavily devoted towards Caphras, seeing him almost as a master. For that he was captured, subdued, and thrown into Pilaku jail, where he would endure interrogation and endless, horrific torture at the hand of the guards and overseers. Imagine being immortal, in a place of torture. Imagine being in the mercy of the most cruel captors and their endless thirst for pain. Oh, what a gift Caphras was. The ingenuity of his overseers grew by the moment. His flesh seared, only to heal again. His limbs ripped and severed, only to regrow once more. Whole machines were created, entire devices capable of causing even the most vile scum to shiver. Such was Caphras' fate. Hell